Here now, with me at the table in Washington, Politico's national correspondent, Brakkton Booker, and Matt Brown, congressional reporter for the Associated Press. Gentlemen, good to see you both. We mentioned this before the break. File this under, it would be getting much more attention if other things weren't going on. Former President Obama, in an appearance in Connecticut, was speaking out and expressing some concerns about how the United States may be slipping closer to autocracy. If we have it, let's play that, please.
We're not there yet, completely, but I think that we are dangerously close to normalizing behavior like that, and we need people both outside government and inside of government saying, let's not go over that cliff.
It's kind of an extraordinary statement from a former president. I mean, he's not been silent about President Trump either in the first or now the second term. But to now be going there and saying, yeah, we're getting pretty close to what a lot of people fear, this is new territory.
Well, it's pretty telling. It's also telling of where the Democratic Party is, with not a strong enough kind of leadership in the current elected officials that can command the attention that Obama can. And so him going out on in Connecticut and having this conversation speaks to sort of the warning signs that he tried to impart on the country before the election in 2024, but seems like that fell on deaf ears. So this seems like it's his next attempt to try to push back at this, especially at someone who replaced him at the White House. But it is pretty extraordinary that it's Obama still kind of the singular voice in the Democratic Party that's getting so much attention.
And I know there's been some criticism that maybe he should be speaking out more. This seems to sort of create the space for fellow Democrats to say, I agree with him, because he's saying people inside and outside government got to be saying more. I mean, on Capitol Hill this week, Senator Padilla of California, recounting what happened to him last week with ICE agents and FBI agents in California, was talking about concerns with this. Other Democrats have been starting to speak up a little more about it.
Yes, I have to say, I mean, we saw in the campaign trail last year, Vice President Kamala Harris and many other Democrats literally used the word fascism to describe Trump's campaign trail. And this time on the Hill, in the past couple weeks and days, you've seen lawmakers express deep concern, deep emotion, both in the halls of Congress, outside on the steps, speaking to press about what they see as an existential Democratic crisis. This is not something that every single Democratic strategist is going to tell you this year or last year that is a winning message with many voters. But it is something that, because these lawmakers are the ones who are going through this experience right now, they're the ones who are arguing with their Republican colleagues or at times being detained by ICE, or in the case of one New Jersey Democrat having charges pressed against her. They are in the middle of this, and it is becoming a very visceral conversation. One thing just on Obama's comments, I do think it's important to note that he understood his audience there, where a lot of folks were talking about the top line of that this is an inflection point or a dangerous moment. But Obama has said that before. What he didn't say, what he also said later, was concerns over how a lot of people in his term, which he pointed out, felt that they could be as progressive as possible or believe in democracy, and there was no cost to it. And he actually made a comment in front of Heather Cox Richardson in Connecticut, a solidly blue state, that y'all are going to have to make changes. There's going to be costs now to what democracy is. He was making a call to action to lawyers, to professionals, notably not a call to action to Trump, not a call to action to Democratic lawmakers. So it's interesting where Obama thinks that he can focus this message right now on who he wants to even communicate with.
Real quick, since you cover the Hill, this congressional debate over what to do about the situation in Iran. There's a proposal in the House that's bipartisan. There's Tim Kaine over in the Senate, maybe trying to find some Republican support. But do either of these proposals go anywhere soon?
Well, I was focusing yesterday on, obviously I spoke with Senator Tim Kaine and got his input. He said that he was in conversations with Senate Majority Leader John Thune about potentially bringing the resolution sometime later this week or later next week.
He says that about a lot of things.
He says it about a lot of things, exactly. And when you speak with the Republican senators who control the majority in the upper chamber, and we'll see next week with the Republican House members, many of them were expressing clear support for President Trump in this moment. I mean, just yesterday, Senator Thom Tillis told me, I'm pro-regime change, so there's no level of pressure that can be put on the on the Iranian regime. Senator Jim Justice from West Virginia said that he'd be fine with some military action by the U.S. And Senator Ted Cruz made very clear no American boots on the ground. But he does believe deeply that we should be assisting Israel with whatever actions it wants to take.
And I know we were observing that today is Juneteenth, federal holiday. Most of official Washington and the government shut down, mail-in being delivered. A lot of other people across the country have the day off. But this White House, in his second Trump term and the first Trump year since Juneteenth became a federal holiday, handling this holiday a little differently, perhaps, than in the Biden administration.
Yes, yes, and just to piggyback off the Iran and get to the Juneteenth in a second. Spoke with Governor Wes Moore today, and he's making some Juneteenth-related announcements. But we started a conversation talking about whether or not Trump was handling Iran sufficiently. And obviously, Wes Moore is an Army combat veteran, served in Afghanistan. He said, look, he's being too willy-nilly about putting lives at stake here. He's being very unserious about his handling with Iran, and he's calling on him to take this a lot more seriously. And obviously, this is in the context of Wes Moore perhaps running for president at some point. So seeing that critique on Juneteenth, on the same day that Wes Moore is making announcements of doing the work to repair in his state, meaning he's going to put some programs to help with some reparations type funding to help those who have been subject to redlining, was really an interesting conversation to have with him today. But as far as the Trump regime and kind of what they're doing with Juneteenth, very, very different from what Biden is doing. Certainly not the pageantry and the celebration of Juneteenth, but certainly they're leaning into kind of their changes and not playing up too much of an idea, too much emphasis on the holiday.
Yeah.
One thing I'll just note
real quick, because then we got to go. But go ahead.
One thing I'll just note on Juneteenth is that the Trump administration, they're not doing any observances that we know of at the moment of the holiday, which is not just a difference from the Biden administration. It's a difference from the first Trump administration, when every single year of the first term, he celebrated and issued proclamations in support of Juneteenth. So we're a little confused why they decided to change it this year, except for obviously the broader conversations that the administration has been making about race. In terms of its many policies, but that should not necessarily affect Juneteenth. So we'll have to be doing more reporting to understand what changed between the two terms.
Brakkton Booker, Matt Brown, good to see you both.
Thanks so much.
Anytime.